I was scheduled to preach this message on Father's Day, and got held up in D.C. We were trying to come back from Florida, and the message today is going to be on trials and tribulations and suffering. And, well, the Lord works in mysterious ways, amen, because I guess He wasn't ready for me to deliver that message. We got held up in D.C., and I'm sitting there thinking, man, Lord, I'm supposed to preach your word tomorrow, and got canceled flights. You know, we were part of that American Airlines 3,000 flights canceled a day. And so we're stuck in D.C., and I'm flustered. I'm a little frustrated because I wanted to be with you guys. I wanted to bring this message. Well, the Lord had, other plans. Apparently, He wanted me to go through some of my own trials and tribulations before I preached this message, because not only was our flight canceled, but I stood in the customer service line for like 2 hours just to get like $20 worth of food vouchers and a hotel about an hour outside of D.C., and I was like, oh, I'm not doing that. So I was like, all right, let's just make the best of this situation. We got a hotel about a half mile from the airport. The kids can just swim. Well, we got there, had no pool. So there goes that idea right there. We didn't have a car, so if we went anywhere, I'd have to Uber it or do something like that. Then, as we're trying to figure everything out, and there wasn't another flight till like the next afternoon, like 5 p.m. I'm like, dude, we're stuck here for like more than a day. I want to preach, can't preach. I was like, you got jokes? I don't know what you're trying to tell me. Then to make things worse, our littlest Brooks keeps going in and out of the bathroom at the hotel. We're like, can you get him out of there? Keeps putting his hands in the toilets. Toilet water, everyone like, so I'll go in there and I grab him out, sit him on down. Well, he didn't like that, okay? And he decided to do what one-year-olds do sometimes, and they throw their head back, like I just did. Yep, and his old head hit the little corner of the door frame. Yeah. So I was like, oh, really, Lord? I mean, come on. Give me a break here. Well, he cries for like an hour straight. Then he starts having trouble breathing, and he's shaking. And so, here we go. Don't cry, Caitlin. Mama's freaking out. I'm freaking out. Charlie's freaking out. Ashley really don't care because he's not old enough to know what's going on right now. But Caitlin's like, something's not right with him. I'm calling 911. I'm like, expensive ambulance ride. We don't know. He just bumped his head. Something's not right. He's struggling. I can see him shaking. I can see him struggling and breathing. So 911. We call 911. Expensive ambulance ride to D.C. Children's Hospital. Charlie's crying. Me and Charlie and Ashley have to follow in an Uber behind the ambulance. So anyway, long story short, I wasn't with you guys on Father's Day to preach about trials and suffering because I was in D.C. going through some of those things, and it's changed some of my message for you guys. So the Lord goes, you're not ready for that message yet. I'm going to change it up a little bit. So, there we go. Mike, it was so good to see you on the guitar, man. It was awesome. Yep. And Marty, hey, man, I don't know about your luck, but when you come back from Honduras, you might not have a job, but that was Tim. That was awesome, dude. That was great. That was great. All right, so if you'll open your Bible with me, what's that? Oh, the baby's fine. Sorry, I probably should have closed with that. Yeah. We just rubbed some dirt on it, and he ended up being okay. Goodness gracious. Yeah, dad of the year right here. Brooks is just fine. We got there, and they said, he's doing everything a one-year-old should do. Probably just shocked his system when he threw his head back. He's good to go. And we ended up, all the, what are the museums that are there? Caitlin? The Smithsonian's. All those are free, so we ended up taking an Uber to the zoo the next day because we had like 8 hours. It's free. The kids loved it, and they thought that was one of the best days of the whole vacation. I'm all stressing out, sinning. They're having a grand old time. But anyway, Brooks is good. Thank you. All right, if you'll turn with me into James. James is Jesus' brother, okay? And we've got evidence in the New Testament that before Jesus died, his brother James thought Jesus was crazy. This whole I am God talk, James wasn't down with that. James didn't like that. Matter of fact, he got some family members, pulled them together and tried to snatch Jesus up because, that's what you do when your brother's telling everybody that you're God, and James didn't believe that. Fast forward the story, after Jesus died and rose again, well, James is one of the biggest disciples and teachers there is. Matter of fact, James becomes one of the key elders of the first Christian church in Jerusalem. But before that, he thought his brother was crazy. Like, dude, I grew up with you in Egypt, bro. I don't know if you're not God, dude. But anyway, this who's writing this story right now. So we'll pick it up, James 1, starting in verse 2. Like I said, I'm going to read through verse 18. Then I'm going to pray, and if you don't understand what I talk, you can head on out. All right, here we go. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask with faith, with no doubting. For the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that's driven and tossed by the wind. For that person must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He's a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. Let the lowly brother boast in his exaltation, and the rich in his humiliation. Because like a flower of the grass, he will pass away. For the sun rises with its scorching heat and withers the grass. Its flower falls, and its beauty perishes. So also will the rich man fade away in the midst of his pursuits. Blessed is a man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he's tempted, I'm being tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. But each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire. Then desire, when it is conceived, gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is fully grown, brings forth death. Do not be deceived, my beloved brothers. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. Of his own will, he brought us forth by the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Okay, so with all that said, my summary of that, kind of like in the newsletter, is basically this. Trials will come. There's no doubt about it. Trials will come. Count them all as joy. Why? Because God is good. Trials will come. Count them all as joy because God is good. One thing I like about this Bible, too, is that it's not sunshine and rainbows all the time. The Bible's grimy sometimes. The Bible's grimy in the fact that he uses the word various there. You will endure various trials. What does that mean? Sickness. Anybody ever endure sickness? Absolutely. Cancer, sickness, that's a form of various. Your marriage, a train wreck, that's a variety of a trial. You got a kid that's acting a fool. Yeah, he's being tough to deal with. That's a variety of trial that we endure. But James says trials will come, not if, but when they come, count them a joy because God is good. Now, I also understand that some of you guys today came in here and you're in the middle of it. Man, you are in the middle of fire. You're crying out to God. You're in the heat of battle right now. You're broken. And you're coming into this place going, Lord, help me. You're just trying to find some rest. I know that. Some of you are in here right now and you're battling with that. And then some of you, everything's good right now. Life's going smooth. But you know that any day you could get a phone call that could change that, right? You could get a text this afternoon. You could get a call next week. Could be a month from now. Because the Bible tells us it's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. So a funny thing about this, too, is when the Lord says, you're gonna endure trials. I don't want you to count them as joy. Not just you're going to go through trials, but I want you to count it as joy. In my mind, when I first read that, studying this, I was like, that kind of reminds me of my dad when I was a little kid. Anybody, raise your hand when you're a kid and you're eating at the table and you got a little broccoli left in that plate. You know where I'm going with this? And your dad goes, hey, son, you're going to eat that broccoli and you're going to like it. All right? So I kind of feel like that's kind of God telling us, look, my dad's like, he loved me. He wanted me to eat the vegetables because he knows it's healthy and he loved me. So he's going to make me eat that. And I'm going to consider it joy. Well, I don't know if I considered that joy. But I kind of see like the Lord is kind of telling us that. You're going to face some trials. I'm commanding you to count it as joy because I love you. And I'm good. I'm worth it. Part of the message today is I want us as Christians. Okay, so for those of us that follow Christ, those of us as Christians, I want us to think about how we are to view those trials that we're going through different than those that don't follow Christ. So raise your hand. There's not going to be any church discipline here or nothing, but raise your hand if you've ever been in a physical fight. Okay? Anybody ever thrown blows, fisticuff? Some of you raised your hand, and I'm like, oh, no. We'll talk about that after church. But here's the thing. If you know that you're going to get in a fight, if you know you're about to come to blows with somebody, you have a better chance of winning that fight, am I right? If you know something's about to happen, you know you're going to fisticuff soon, if you know it's coming, you got a better chance of winning that fight, correct? I mean, if you know it's coming, you can kind of look at how they're postured, you know, is this guy doing old Fred Sanford, you know, or is he got his hands up like, oh, you can tell this guy can take care of himself pretty good, or is he sitting out there like, no. You don't do that if you're about to get in a fight. You do one of these numbers, you're going to get knocked out, all right? So if you know you're going to get in a fight, you can posture yourself better. You can kind of find the exit in case you need to run. For us as Christians, when we know that we're going to get in these trials, we know we're going to get in these fights, that's what we got to think about. We've got to know that we're going to get in these fights. And us as Christians, there's two lenses I'm going to talk about today that we have to look at those trials in order for us to have a better chance of winning those. The first lens as a Christian that we should look at these trials and tribulations that we're going to go through is, number one, the Christian views trials as a pathway to maturity. Look at verse 3. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. So, number one, as a Christian, the lens that we look at these trials as a pathway to maturity. And is it any different outside of the spiritual world? No. In life in general, okay, let's take Brooks, for example. He's one now. He's walking. He don't walk good. He still falls and he still stumbles. And we're the same as Christians. When we first decide to follow Christ, we're not mature, bam, right off the bat. We don't say, all right, Lord, I'm going to follow you, and it's just pixie dust, sprinkled, Jesus throws it on us, and we're mature the rest of our life. No, you learn everything that you've done in life, whether it's the job that you do, whether it's your physical talents you do. You learn that by what? Falling, failing. We all do that. In life, that's how we get mature in whatever venue you can think of. It's no difference for us as Christians. We believe it's not just we're not just spiritually mature right then. We're going to fall. Life's going to beat us up and pound us. We're going to fall. We're going to get our knees scuffled up and bloodied. But we have to, as Christians, look at that trial that he puts us through because he loves us and he wants us to mature, and he wants us to mature spiritually. Number 2, verse 5. Okay, number 5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. Here's a little insight to our hearts, okay? And I know it's with me. I'm going to guess it's with you guys too. If it's not, well, I'm sorry. Well, this is a little insight to our insidious hearts. When life's going good, if I was a bet man, this is kind of where I throw my chips in. When life's going good, everything's smooth, we're not going through anything trials, our marriage is great, our kids are wonderful, we're not really focused on Christ at all, are we? Because we think, oh, it's me, I'm doing this. Everything's good, I'm doing this. I don't need God. As soon as something goes bad, as soon as life becomes a mess, what do? Oh, where were you at, God? It's all your fault. Is that just me, or can I get an amen? Maybe it's just me, I don't know. But when, life's going good, we have this tendency to kind of lean over here like, oh, man, I got this. I'm doing good. Let life get to be junky. What in the world, God? Where'd you go? Why are you doing this? It's not fair. And so that shows us in that trial that we need God. And every time I read this verse, it takes me to a story in the book of Mark. And I can't remember if I told them to put that up there, but in the book of Mark, chapter 9, we're going to start with verse 20. It says, and they brought the boy to him, Jesus, and they brought the boy to Jesus. And when the spirit saw him, a demon, it immediately convulsed the boy, and he fell on the ground and rolled about, foaming at the mouth. And Jesus asked his father, how long has this been happening to him? And he said, from childhood. And it has often cast him into the fire and into water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. And Jesus said to him, if you can, all things are possible for one who believes. Okay? When I was growing up and I was a new Christian, that verse right there bothered me. And this is why it bothered me. Because when I started going through stuff and I wanted to ask him for help, I doubted. So what did I do? I didn't ask him. Because the verse goes on to say earlier, the one who doubts is double-minded, unstable in all his ways, and I'm not going to give you anything if you doubt. So me as an early Christian goes, man, I'm struggling with this, and I want to cry out for help, and I want to beg for his help and wisdom, but I'm doubting. So I didn't ask because I felt I was double-minded. I was unstable in all my ways. And if you've ever been there, if I'm the only one, I don't know, but if you've ever been there with me, let's break it down a little bit more. Because in this text, let's see what happens. So Jesus says, if I can, all things are possible for one who believes. Immediately the father of the child cried out and said, I believe, help my unbelief. Huh. Is that powerful? Look, I don't have any tattoos. One, because I never could find anything that I thought I'd want for the rest of my life. I thought, if anything, I'd get like a lion for Lion of Judah. Be a good story to tell. Somebody asked me, what about the lion? Oh, Lion of Judah, dog, Jesus, I'm a follower. But I was like, man, no, because 30, 40 years from now, instead of looking like a Lion of Judah, it might look more like a mangy billy goat or something like that. But if I was to get one, this could be one right here that says, I believe, but help me in my unbelief. So now, when I'm faced with stuff like that, I'm crying out to the Lord. Because now I'm not feeling like I'm double-minded, unstable in all my ways. Because this verse says, if you believe. And is that enough? So the father's saying, I believe, but help me in my unbelief. Was that enough to save the boy? Well, let's find out. And when Jesus saw that, a crowd came running together. He rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, you mute and deaf spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again. And after crying out and convulsing him terribly, it came out, and the boy was like a corpse, so that most of them said, he's dead. But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he arose. One thing I think's cool about that is no demon ever argues with Jesus. The demons are there, Jesus says, get out. All right, see you later. There's not a cosmic battle or going on. When Jesus says get out, they're gone. Let's keep reading. Don't keep reading. My point is, when you feel like the world's coming in on you and you're in that and you're doubting and you're scared to cry out to God because you are doubting, you don't want to be wavering, a double-minded man, it's that mustard seed of faith that you have that allows God to enter into our life and work on our behalf. Amen? So this father's been watching his son from birth, sick with demons that would throw himself in the fire, throw him in the water to destroy him. And we finally saw Jesus is like, Lord, can you do something? Do something if you can. And Jesus is like, if I can do anything for those who believe. And the father goes, I believe, but I'm struggling. I don't believe. Help me in my unbelief. And the Lord says, it's that mustard seed of faith. Rise up. I got you. So if you guys have ever been with me, when you're feeling like that and you're struggling to cry out to God because you're doubting, dude, find rest in that. Find rest in the fact that it's just that little bitty mustard seed of faith where God comes on and he acts on our behalf. So that's the first fight, was doubt. So let him ask without doubting, okay? You go to him no matter what. Because life has a way, and I'm just going to read this so I don't mess it up. Life has a way that will eventually wear you down, and you'll wrestle with doubt. Okay? You don't get around it. And you shouldn't feel guilt or shame for doing that. Jesus healed this man's son after he was like, if you can, and boom, Jesus healed him. Let that encourage you. Freaking moping around like, well, I just struggle. Well, yeah, we all do. We all do. But God honors the fight. That's the point of that. God honors the fight. The double-minded man is the one who goes, oh, he can't help me. He's not going to help me. He's not going to do anything. That's the double-minded man. That's the one that's unstable in all his ways. And no, God's not going to intervene on that. Because you're just giving lip service to God. You're pretending like you're put together, but you're not. And we're like that in our everyday lives with folks that we deal with. You know, you come up with your buddies or your friends, like, how you doing? Oh, man, I'm good. Marriage is on fire back here like a Bruce Willis movie. Just, don't worry about that. We'll put that out later. And that's why we surround ourselves with people and brothers and sisters in Christ. That's why I'm as close as I am with Pastor Mike. That's why I can call Ben anytime I want, like, dude, this week's been terrible. This week's been crappy. I need you to pray for me. That's why this morning, one of my first text messages was to Dave Southwick and Sue Southwick saying, I'm preaching this morning, guys, and I'm nervous. I feel like I'm not worthy. I don't know what to do. What happened? Boy, they're blowing me up in text messages with encouragement and stuff. So that's why we know we're going to go through trials. God is good. Surround ourselves with brothers and sisters in Christ. That's going to encourage us for that. The second fight that we come into as Christians is comparison. Let me read verses 9 through 13. Oh, I already lost my place. Can you throw that back up there? Let the lowly brother boast in his exaltation, and the rich in his humiliation, because like a flower of the grass he will pass away. For the sun rises with its scorching heat and withers the grass. Its flower falls and its beauty perishes. So also will the rich man fade away in the midst of his pursuits. Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am being tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. Years ago, there was a study done, and it wasn't just for Christians, but it was on the effects of Facebook, Instagram, all those social media sites, okay? You can look it up. I'm not making this up. It's there. And one of the things that it said those social media platforms can lead to is depression. Would everybody agree that it can do that? Absolutely. Let me give you a little example of that. Say you're in a trial. Say life right now is punching you in the teeth. And you've just been sitting at home feeling sorry for yourself. You just binge watched the whole series on Netflix all day long. It's getting to be nighttime. You eat a whole gallon of ice cream because it makes you feel better for like an hour. And then you go to bed and you feel sorry. You grab your phone and what do? You go to Facebook, Instagram. What do you see? Everybody's marriage is perfect, right? Everybody's kids are incredible. And they're just printing money, okay? They're on vacation every day of the week. They're always somewhere. And what do you find festering up in you as you go through that? Some resentment, a little bit of comparison? Or am I just the only one that does that? No, just me? All right, well, y'all pray for me. Because I've done that. When life's been kicking me in the teeth and I go through and I'm like, really? I get this and this guy gets that, you know? What about Christmas time? You know, when you get 7,922 Christmas cards and you put them up all over the house, and if you are going through something during that season, you can find one of those Christmas cards of somebody you don't like or somebody that you're a little jealous of, and as you're going through that trial and that tribulation, you look at that person, same thing. Really, Lord, this guy gets all that. I do nothing but, you know, try to live for you, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and this guy gets that. How long does it take for the Lord to just gut punch you and tell you, really? I've hinged nothing on you, bud. You tell me that guy right there or that lady right there can't be a successful story of my salvation and reconciliation? Yeah, you're right again. So comparison, it'll get you. The first fight's doubt. The second one is comparison. And that reminds me of like Luke 15, the prodigal son. You know, the younger son leaves, and he squanders off all his father's inheritance. He does all that stuff. Then he comes back, begging to come back, and the older brother, he resents his younger brother because his dad did what? Welcomed him with open arms, got the fatted calf, fed him, and the older brother's mad like he was resenting him. Oh, that's me sometimes, until he punches me in the soul. No, I can't do it that way. We need to see our trials as paths to maturity, that trials make us consciously aware that we need God. The only thing that we actually need. But be careful, because you're going to have to duke it out with doubt, and it's going to be a fight. And I ain't talking about a little one-round KO. It's a 12-round knockdown, drag-out fight, okay? But keep swinging and hang in there. And if you're not careful, comparison's going to tag team and jump in there too. Kick you in the back when you ain't looking. And be careful, because you can be incited by your own flesh to betray God's invitation to maturity in getting what you actually need, and that will lead to death. But Jesus is sitting there going, hang in there, man. I got you. And from there, James does what he must do. Turn our eyes on the nature of God. Let's read verse 16. Do not be deceived, my beloved brothers. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. Of his own will he brought us forth by the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits for his creatures. One of the greatest anchors for your soul when trials come is the greater that your knowledge is of the goodness and grace of God on your life, especially just in common grace, the more likely you are to praise him in the storm. And what do I mean by common grace? Common grace is, let's say this. A month ago, we went out on a boat with Ben and Becky and the kids, and we ain't got on the boat yet. We went to Hathaway Point to launch the boat, and we all get on the boat. We got everything ready. The kids are ready. They got their life jackets on, and Ben's got one of those boats. It's got 2 engines. One of them fires up, the other one don't. If that had been my boat, that'd have been a quick trip to the lake, haul the trailer back up, and we're gone. Ben, because of common grace, the Lord has bestowed him some mechanical abilities and stuff that I don't got. So instead of, if it would have been me, we'd have loaded the boat up and been gone. But no, Ben, he raises the hatch. You know, I'm like, I don't know what he's doing in there, boy. And he gets down there, and he's fiddling around with stuff, and he mentions some words that I don't know, some sensors and some doomajiggers and whatchamacallits, and he's adjusting some stuff, and he tries things, and I'm like, I don't know what, because that would have been me, would have been gone. Next thing you know, fires up. I'm like, are you serious? And he comes up, shuts the deal, and he told me what he did, but it's something about a flex capacitor, and I don't know. Whatever. We went on the lake and had a good day. But what I mean by common grace is the things that God imparts on us, not just as Christians, but for everybody. You wake up this morning, breathe air, that's a gift of common grace. Everything good came down from the Father of lights. You got any physical talents, got any strength? Common grace. You got any money in your pocket? Came down from the Father's lights. Can you hear good? Can you see good? Gift of common grace. Hey, there's people here in our church, people out in the community that can't. He showers us with common grace. And part of that verse that says no variation with God, I love that, because to me, no variation with God, that means there's no return policy. When Christ died on that cross, you know those times you're in a trial, you just feel pathetic, you feel like you're not worthy of nothing? God's not going up there going, hey, did we come up with any return policy on this, on anybody that follows me because you're acting like a fool? No. There's no variation with Christ. He died on that cross for our past sins, our current sins, and our future sins. Okay? So if you ever feel like you're pathetic, yeah, and sometimes we are. But there's no variation for God. There's no return policy. He's not going, oh man, I wish we'd get my money back on that dude. I didn't know he was going to be like that. Sometimes you just got to get over yourself. I'm just terrible. Yeah. Look to the cross. Amen? Am I the only one? So I'm going to finish with a story of Charlie. And I took her to the dentist a few years ago. And if the worship team wants to start heading up here. We took her to the dentist a few years ago, just regular cleaning checkup. But she had a tooth that had been bothering her a little bit. You know, too many sugar bugs is what I don't know who came up with that term, sugar bugs. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but sugar bugs. And so during the cleaning, they do the cleaning, and then the dentist comes in, and the word extraction comes out. Now, Charlie's a little sharper than most at that age. She was about 7 at that time. Daddy, what's extraction mean? They're going to pull your tooth. And they try to dummy it down and say, oh, we're just going to wiggle that tooth out. It'll be better. Because the tooth was hurting her, and it turned a color, and it was just giving her pain. They just want to wiggle it out. But the word extraction got her. She didn't want to do it. Man, I wouldn't want that to happen either. But it's the best thing that could have happened to her, okay? She was in pain. The dentist knew what needed to be done for it to be better. And Charlie's going, I don't want to pull my tooth. I don't want him to pull my tooth. I don't want him to extract my tooth. That is going to hurt. And the worst thing about it is you had to schedule it later. So she had all that time to think about what's going to happen. Is that not the worst ever? Knowing what's about to happen as a 6-year-old? So we go in the day they're going to wiggle the tooth out. And the dentist says, you can sit on the chair with her if you want. Absolutely. And they give her a little laughing gas, which is, there was nothing funny about that day, okay? Nothing. And my poor girl, she starts crying because the laughing gas does something to her. It made her feel like she was just scared, okay? And things were hurting. And she was squeezing my pants leg as the doctor started extracting the tooth. And I can just remember I was this close to like just throwing that lamp up into the ceiling, but like, that's it. We're not doing it. Like, my little girl's in pain. She's crying. You're not pulling the tooth. It'll eventually fall out. I was this close to not doing it. And she was like, Daddy, I don't want to pull my tooth. I don't want to pull my tooth. But look, brothers and sisters in Christ, we are going to go through trials. We're going to. It's not if, it's when. And God says, count it as joy because I'm good and I know what's best for you. And those trials, not only does it lead us to a pathway of spiritual maturity, but it also makes us recognize our need for God. So sometimes he reaches in there and he makes us go through some pain because he knows that's the only thing that's going to get us on our back and go, man, I need you. I need you. But all too often, what do? We look at God and go, I don't want you to pull my tooth. I don't want you to pull my tooth. God is good. He'll pull your tooth because he loves you.